So we just want to let you know that Danny DeVito, who directed the movie Matilda, the great smash hit from in the 1990s, is going to be in concert with the New Jersey Symphony March 22nd at the State Theater in New Brunswick. And it's a beautiful theater. I've played there before. There's going to be a live orchestra, the movie with a beautiful print, and you'll see it live. And then Danny will narrate like he did in the movie live. He'll be there. So March 22nd in New Brunswick, the State Theater, Danny DeVito and Matilda.
If you want tickets, go to njsymphony.org/Matilda or just call 1-800-ALLEGRO, which is also 1-800-255-3476. Dana, this one has one of our old favorites who we both had worked with, Danny DeVito. He was on SNL with you, with me.
Mm-hmm.
He did my very first, I'm pretty sure, Gap Girls. That one only had me and Sandler in it, but he played our boss. And I know he did Hans and Franz with you.
Hans and Franz and Church Lady. And he's a 5-time host, so he's part of that club. Loves Saturday Night Live. He's about as likable a person as you could ever spend time with. There's something about him that is so sweet and fun. We go over his penguin character, Batman, that was so brilliant and hilarious. The Tim Burton movie, Batman Returns, I believe. And
we talk about
his early days.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Romancing the Stone. He had so many big things.
Twins.
And then, of course, we get into Twins, Taxi,
Always Sunny
in Philadelphia.
Yep. Yeah, it's quite a career.
The dude has done a lot, and he produces and he directs. We just talk about a lot of stuff with him, and the guy is a good talker, and he knows a lot about New York and when he started, and he gets into all those crazy stories about Jim Carrey, Andy Kaufman.
Yeah.
Going to see Andy Kaufman do stand-up. Yeah, a lot of fun stuff. So this is a fun one, and have a good time with them.
But I was just thinking, doing this in the 1960s, we might have waited for Yul Brynner to come on. And that would have been fun.
Yul Brynner would be the first guest.
Podcast guest in 1965. We'd follow him up with Steve McQueen.
Yeah, you put him on. He does a little dance. He does the accent.
He talks about doing the jump, but he didn't really do it in The Great Escape.
Didn't really, all the stuff that he does, like I had an apartment in New York once in the 60s. I got on the bulletin board of the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, where I went to school. And, I was looking for apartments. Everybody was always, scrounging for no money, but we had no money. So they had this bulletin board. Anyway, I went to an address, and it was in the weirdest place. It was on Madison Avenue in 57th or 8th Street. 645 was the address, I remember.
Oh.
And yeah.
Wow.
And I walk in the door. It's a really shitty building. Now it's all, totally turned into what New York is, And I go in the building, and the first thing I saw was a giant picture of Yul Brynner.
Oh, man.
And it was a little shitty, a little shitty hallway, kind of thing. And anyway, it worked out because I got the apartment. It was the second flight up. It had an elevator actually in the building, but very, 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 very old school.
Yeah.
And of course, it was 64 or something like that.
So what was your rent? Do you remember your rent?
Yes, $50 a month.
$50 a month.
And it was a 1-bedroom apartment, and the bedroom was a living room, bedroom kind of situation. It had a nice bathroom and a kitchen, and a and the bedroom had windows that looked out over the tops of buildings in New York. So it was like one of those. It was like if you were doing a play or a movie about New York, and you said build me a outside, like what the cyclorama would look like, or today,
Mhm.
what you would put in you know, the background of your movie. It was all the stove, you know, the
Yeah.
exhaust pipes and the tops of buildings and railings and all that. It
Yeah.
looked like you could do West Side Story on the
Well,
roofs.
did people hang out of their windows going, "Hey, what's with the
Well, no,
fucking noise over here?"
no, they weren't doing that. It was like more like it wasn't like enclosed like if there were
Okay.
buildings that went up. Because
Yeah.
in that area, you know, at that time, it was just the top. So you had a great
Mhm.
panorama of looking east. But no, you didn't see a river or anything. I was on Madison Avenue, and but to actually have that address at that time was like amazing, fucking crazy. Because I put these other glasses, I see better from far away.
That's a great, right in the heart of Midtown, right?
Yes, right in the heart of. And the thing about
Mhm.
it is that at that time, and a lot of people don't know this, Madison Avenue and Fifth Avenue were two-way streets. I mean, you guys
Mhm.
weren't even born.
Yeah.
I was
well,
being born.
I go back. I remember Yul Brenner. I mean, you know, David doesn't know who Yul Brenner is.
Yes, so you remember him, but yeah.
Oh yeah.
But
I remember The King and I was a poster.
But if you imagine Madison
Yeah.
Avenue being a two-way street, and
Yeah.
you know New York very well, and Fifth
Yeah.
Avenue also. I used to walk up from 30th and go to 57th or 8th where I lived, and it was a two-way street. It was really there weren't any horses and carts though. You'd be happy to hear.
You weren't that far back?
It wasn't that
Oh,
far.
good. All right. We're in the modern.
Were you walking around with Casting Call magazine?
I was doing what we used to get was show business and what they call backstage. You remember
Oh,
those?
Backstage.
Remember
yeah?
those?
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
you guys did it a whole other way. It was just we'd buy. I would, you know, I was never in the magazine. We'd buy these papers that came out once a week, show business and backstage, and in there
Yeah.
there would be all the casting that was going on,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
and we would, you know, we would go to on the corner of I think it was 47th and 7th was Howard Johnson's, and everybody would meet in there. It was like you going in, you know, take up space and have coffee, and read to see what
The
was
latest thing, yeah.
yeah, to see what was going on. And
Danny, did you ever find when you auditioned for these things at the beginning, I found this, that you would audition and then you would hear through the grapevine, they already have offers out to stars, but they're just looking for backups or
oh no,
it's always the
it's,
same
you know, that-
case.
so it's been that since the beginning of time. And the other thing about like I'm talking about auditioning for off Broadway,
Mhm.
off Broadway,
Mhm.
regional theater, anything
Mhm.
that you could get. And you know, sometimes you get lucky and get an audition at the Public, you know, and you know, get a tiny part in Shakespeare in the Park. You know,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
it's not literally a spear carrier, but you might have a few lines. Like I played once. I played the doctor in the Merry Wives of Windsor, the doctor's servant. Sorry, in the Merry Wives of Windsor. You know, and those were the best shows to get because they literally paid, man.
Oh.
That was like you would wind up with 190 something dollars a week in
Wow.
those in at Joe Papp's. Yeah, $200. It was a different contract. That, you know,
No
but
strike needed there.
yeah, you know
4 months
the
of rent.
off Broadway. Off Broadway was great, man. Off Broadway was $68 a week, $70 a week.
Damn.
That's what I made on SNL.
And SNL didn't exist then, did it?
Did Lorne
I mean,
Michaels
that's what I tell people.
existed?
Well, Lorne Michaels always existed.
He was a
and he
teenager.
still exists.
There is no one nothing before.
When did SNL start? When did SNL start?
That's a good question.
75.
It's like 70 something.
75.
75. The
because-
50th is next year. Yeah. Anniversary.
Yeah. So so 75. I was already in California by then. I'd gone through off Broadway and all those things earlier,
Mhm.
and did children's theater in Massachusetts. I've done, did all that kind of stuff, and then I got lucky in 1971ish or two around there, and I got a part off Broadway and played Martini in Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh,
and so that was like where
there should be fucking applause.
Then I stayed in that play for almost a year. It ran at the Mercer Arts Center, and that was cool. And then Milos saw it, and everybody saw it, and I got lucky and got a Milos. And then I got the movie, and then after the movie opened, I moved out.
Wait, Danny,
sunny California.
My question was, when you do a play, you're not guaranteed a part in the movie, are you?
No, you're not guaranteed anything in this. Our business is, you must know this. It's not. There are no guarantees.
There's no anything.
No.
Yeah. I mean, once in a while, like for instance, you could imagine like Brando giving a performance like he did in Streetcar, and then you got to be you have to have your head in the sand to not cast him in the movie. So
right.
Same thing with Vivian.
They're not going to get someone from The Bachelor,
and they're not going to he's going to be the first choice.
Yeah, I starred in Hans and Franz the musical. Sorry, go ahead.
I want to hear more about Hans and Franz the musical.
Hans and Franz the musical. What I was going to ask you, Danny, is a philosophical question. Usually when people have their struggling years, and then have hyper superstar success, which I'm going to put you in that category, they look back at those early years and go, those were some of the best days of my life. Do you feel that, or did it suck when you look back on the struggling years?
First of all, I mean, unless I'm doing something like talking to you guys, like, or something where, you don't think about that as much, but you do think like, those days were struggles, but not, not the best. They were not those were the days. I think the toughest part about that getting started was, like you guys got started, like when you hit television, or I don't know what your history is, but how much you did before I met you when I did The Church Lady or something like that. But
you were there. You were there. Yeah. I remember
there.
Well, you hosted a couple times. Just so funny. And when I did that drum solo in the dress, you were egging me on, and that was my best drum solo on television.
There you go. You see, you have to have a coach.
You were good. I had 10 years of anonymity before I got SNL. David got a movie right out of high school, but
I know. Danny, thank you for asking. I did a Police Academy movie, Police Academy 4, the good one, and then I came back and turned something down. I thought I was kind of a big deal, and then I lost all my heat for 3 years and had to grind it back, and it's so fucking sickening to even think about. But it all worked out. But like you were saying in the beginning, when you were struggling, I think, like all of us, you don't really know any better, and you know you're taking a risk by going into this world of movies and TV and theater. So you can only really look back and think, God damn, how did I get through that? But at the time, $100 is a lot. You get a little part, it's a lot. You're just sitting with your buddies at the coffee shop. It's such a long shot to make it that it's probably, once you make it, you look back and you go, God, that was tough. But at the time, it's tough, but I didn't really notice how tough it was.
Yeah, you don't notice it. No. You just, you're focused on, like, you're focused on getting the job.
Yeah.
So basically, that was what was going on with me. I was like, I would read those papers that and at the time, excuse me, in the '60s, I didn't have an equity card, so I just got out of school, and like the way they did it was you would read you'd read in backstage that such and such was casting something, and you go, okay, and they're casting over on 57th Street, by Carnegie Hall, somewhere near one of those buildings down the block, whatever it was, and casting was, say Tuesday, okay, but you didn't get in until the end of you got if you didn't have an equity card, they saw everybody. They would because everybody's looking for the right person to play the part. Hopefully, especially if they're not, it's I mean, maybe they already had the lead cast, or that's the way they raised the money, or those things. But you would wait up in you go at like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and maybe the line was less, and you could. You waited, and then in the very end, they would let the non-equity people get in to audition, and then they'd see everybody. And as a matter of fact, the first play that I ever I did at I think it was 1968 or so, 7, the first off-Broadway show. Because I had done regional theater. Well, I toured with a play once that came out of school. That was like kind of cast in we went to 2 theaters, went to the Eugene O'Neill Foundation, where the playwrights thing in 60-something, 64. And then like in 68, I actually did that. I went to one of those auditions, and where they make you wait until the very end. And I peeked my head into it was this big door in one of those big old pre-war buildings I think it might have been on like near 57th Street. And I walk up, and it's a giant door, and there was nobody there because I had gone and come back. The line was really long. And anyway, long story short, I stuck my head in, and there was an actor, a director, and a writer and a producer sitting at a table really far away in this big empty room. It looked like a rehearsal room. And I just popped my head in. You still, seeing people kind of thing. And the actor, a guy named Alan Garfield. You remember, Alan?
James Garfield's son?
No. I don't know who his dad was. His name was Alan Garfield, but he was. You know him, Dave?
No, I know Garfield the cat.
Okay. Anyway, the guy literally at the table, like across the room, turns around and said, "That's the guy who should play the part."
Whoa!
They were trying to talk him into. Yeah, he didn't want to do this part. It wasn't a huge part, but it was a good part. And I stuck my head in the door. And the guy and the actor, not the director and the producers and the writer or whatever, he said, "There's the guy who should play this part." And I just backed out of the room or something, and they came and got me. And I went in and I read the lines, did the thing. I had never seen the script before. Just, like those things where they give you the
cold
sides.
Read,
yeah. And I got a part in a play called "Shoot Anything with Hair That Moves."
Of course.
It's a huge success.
I just think of the 70s and the films of the 70s and Cuckoo's Nest. And of course that play.
Yeah.
Don't shoot anything that has hair. And the
friends
that you made, Jack Nicholson and Michael Douglas, and your class,
right?
Those 70s guys that all became, and they're lifelong friends. What's the deal with those guys? Are they fun, or do you like them? Or
they're
Jack
fun.
Nicholson and
they're good to work with.
Yeah, Jack's the coolest guy out there.
Jack was like a guy from Jersey. He actually lived like he was born in this. We were born in the same hospital. Figure that. Like
Well, I'll
down
be
the shore.
damned.
And
Well, hey,
I'll be damned.
how about that?
And
That's what Jack would say. I'll be damned. Born in the same hospital.
yeah, how do you like that? Me and D born in the same hospital. I don't do a good Nicholson accent. Let's see. And then Michael, I met actually in the 60s at the Eugene O'Neill playwrights conference up there where that play that I was going through town with, we opened the festival that year, and that's where we met. So, and they were not only good guys, but really fun to work with. And once we got going, we had a couple of shots to work together, which was like really good. But, it's good when people are looking out for you, because the business is like very difficult. And when people are looking out for you, as well as, your buddies, and know what the scoop is, then you're fortunate to have those guys as friends.
You're lucky you're all good too, because it's hard to help each other out or recommend someone. But if everybody's good, those all three of you, so it's not crazy that you would all be in another movie or that you would work together, because you keep bringing it, which is hard to do.
It's all about work, the work. Right?
Yeah, just keep working. Yeah,
keep having a good time doing it.
Our theme here, casually SNL, and you hosted 5 times. It's very rare
5 o'clock
to host 5 times. 5 o'clock. You and John Goodman and a couple others. When you host that show, as you know, you got to pretty much cold read 55 scripts over 4 hours, basically.
Yes.
And I remember thinking at the time when you came in 86 or 87, damn, this guy can cold read. Were you known for that? But you were like nailing it, over and over again. Pretty cool to watch as a young performer.
Well, it was a lot of fun to sit in that room with all you crazy people and have that pile of scripts in front of you and just go through them. I mean, that's like, the opportunity to have everybody there pitching what they thought was best and what you felt comfortable with. That's the main thing. I think that's key, right? Would you say, like, for the hosts to be comfortable with all that material? Pick the ones that are the ones that suit you best. It's a lucky thing, like, to have that pack of, troubadours all sitting around the table.
It's like old school showbiz, kind of.
Yeah, old school. It's like, I could imagine what it was like, when the Marx Brothers were running around all the theaters trying out material. That would be the same kind of thing. They just they suffer people through 2 hours or 3 hours of material, and then pick the ones that they like best.
Yeah, Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin did some TV shows in there. Don Pardo said to me, and they would just go up to the director and cut his tie off with a scissor. This is Jerry Lewis in the 50s, and they would both just push the piano over, like destroy the piano. They were the anarchists then, the crazy people. But one thing about you, I have to say, so we get to it, was on Hans and Franz, when we got you in there as like a pit bull, over the top Austrian guy who was out of his mind, and we would berate the audience, the imaginary, and you would start berating them, and then you start attacking the camera, and we had to keep holding you back. That was one of the funniest moments I had on that show with you in that sketch. Yeah, hysterical. Because you committed so fucking hard.
Yeah, I think sometimes the task of the director for me is, sitting on me, holding me back, get me away from just try to turn the burners down a little bit, Once I get going, I guess that's what happens.
Burners down.
It still happens that way.
Well, that's what Arnold told me about you. He said, you got to keep Danny on his feet. keep Danny on his feet
You have to
because his energy
keep
goes
him on
up.
a short leash.
On a short leash.
Otherwise he gets going, he gets away at the leash, and you have
Yeah.
to follow him
Yeah.
and get him and bring him back into the scene because the emotions get so high with Danny.
It's funny about with Arnold. Arnold and I were thrust together by Ivan Reitman, who just passed away. Rest his
twins.
soul.
Yeah.
He called me and said, "How would you like to be Arnold Schwarzenegger's brother?" I said, "I'd jump at the chance." I thought that was a great idea. Once we got together, it was like we had a great chemistry. We breaking balls constant. It was like a kind of like, you know, he's so formidable, and he's got a great sense of humor. He does have, like, he's always doing all kinds of, like, crazy ass shit. And he always had a pack of guys around him, like Franco and
Franco
Peter.
Colombo.
Franco Colombo.
Yeah, and all these guys and these other bodybuilders. And so it was like a pack of bros. It was similar, going into like that with as a host of Saturday Night Live, going into this pack of like crazy people that were always, that had a shorthand, and got along the way you guys did. I don't, at least when I was around you, we were always, fucking around, having a good time. And so it was a similar kind of thing with Arnold. I'd go in and there would all be these guys seriously pumping iron and doing shit and, talking about, and I just like, when you get
protein powder,
all of a sudden a kind of a wrecking ball comes in and starts banging into,
Yeah.
It was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Were they going to do a triplets?
Yeah, we were going to do it. And then this is I always go by the Super Bowl because I was in Atlanta doing a movie and it was Super Bowl Sunday and I was just getting over COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I was stuck in a room for 2 weeks and the news came that Ivan passed away on that day. And so this is going to be 3 years now that he's gone. 3 years. 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brilliant director.
Yeah. It was a drag. He was, he's a lot of fun and made a big difference in my life. Well,
yeah, I was told
but
that
we were going to do triplets.
Oh,
we were going to do triplets. We had a script going. Everything was going. And then when he passed, his family didn't want to continue with doing it. So Arnold and I are working on other things together.
Oh, good.
And
that's awesome. We love Arnold.
The way things. He's a cool guy. He's a good guy. Tracy Morgan was going to come in.
I'll put a baby in there.
He's so funny. We had a great Zoom together, and he was just off the charts,
bananas,
hysterical.
Yeah.
I mean, that energy in there,
Mr.
Like,
D, it don't get any easier.
That's that. That's the way the way things go. Like they, you have to always adjust as like we do. So.
Did you have the role that got away, Danny? Or maybe a conflict. He had to do another movie instead.
No, I didn't.
Choices
that I couldn't do. I hadn't had one of those that was really substantial. That you could look back and say, no. I've had roles that I desperately wanted and got, which I got. I had to work hard to get. If you can't imagine, how everybody holds out. You get a part, and somebody says the last minute you get a part, and it's the one you wanted, and that's really the ones I think about. The ones that got away, I don't know. I can't.
Were you going to be Costanza?
Oh no. I think like you mean like in Seinfeld.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't. They
Okay.
just yeah. When yeah, I was still. I don't know what I was doing at the time. I when
Mid
but I did
90s.
a movie. I
Yeah.
did a movie called The Ratings Game, which is was done for Showtime. It was the first movie that I directed, and I cast in that movie as a. It was one of his first things on camera, Jerry Seinfeld. I don't know if he had done anything before this,
Hmm.
but I cast him as an agent, and coincidentally, there were a couple of like really wild characters in the movie. I cast Michael Richards in the same movie.
Oh, weird.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
I didn't know that they would later be teamed up in Seinfeld, but this was like
Yeah.
in it was in '83. When did
Mhm.
Seinfeld go on?
Like 90, 93,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4. I'm sorry. Something like that. Yeah.
So 10 years earlier, I did a movie called The Ratings Game, and
Mhm.
both Jerry Seinfeld and Michael Richards were in it.
Did Jerry ask you questions of how to direct? He goes,
Hey.
How do you want me to play this scene? Did he ever say that to you?
No, I don't. Yeah.
He's pretty kind of serious in real life, I think. By the way, which Batman did you work with? I can't remember.
Batman Returns.
Who was the Batman again?
It was Michael.
Oswald. Oh no, that
Oh, I love Michael.
I
Keaton.
do. I'm not just because you're on our show right now. I love your Penguin. I loved it.
Thank you.
Your Oswald
Thank you.
Penguin. I thought. Didn't you have fun
I
doing
had
that?
fun
I
with
mean,
it.
your get
Oh,
up
yeah.
was so crazy.
Yeah. I had fun doing that. That was one of the ones that I really wanted, and and I met Tim, and we had a great conversation about it. And I knew he had done a lot of drawings, and we sat in his office and looked at it, and I really, really wanted to play that. And the first makeup was, I was in the chair for almost 5 hours, and then we got it down to 3, but we stayed around three and change,
Mm-hmm.
and it was amazing. And it was the thing I liked about that was, like I said, I like to go big.
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
and boy, oh boy, Oswald was written like an opera. And he could go. You could take this guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he was slapping his flippers off the walls, baby. I mean, your bird cannot fly.
Yeah, he was the wicked witch. He was all of it, all in one.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was
Crazy
great.
character.
It's odd. Yeah, and that was after. Okay, that was after. See, I did we did Romancing the Stone, Jewel of the Nile,
Great.
and then
great.
War of the Roses with Michael and Kathleen. And
Huge.
I was just about thinking about what we were going to do again, because I was trying to pull a Fritz Lang, where you, as a director, you cast, the same people in all of your movies, but they play different parts. And then Batman came along, and it's odd the way things, emerge. Most of the movies that I've done, came out of the blue, and you're very fortunate. I was going to direct a pilot I was sitting in the commissary at Paramount, and I was just about to make the deal. I was talking to the writer, and I was talking to the producer, and it was at Paramount, and I was going to be I was directing this pilot, and I had a yellow pad full of notes, about the pilot script, and I knew I was getting really steely daggers from the writer, who was also the producer. And a woman this was in the days we didn't have cell phones and stuff. A woman from the commissary. I was in the commissary all the time because of Taxi. That's where we shot Taxi. She came over to me and she said, "You have a phone call." It was like the old Hollywood days. She didn't bring it to the table, but I got up and went over to where the phone was.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Michael Douglas. And he rescued me from doing that pilot because we had shot Romancing the Stone already. Romancing the Stone. And he said, "What are you doing? I heard you're going to do a pilot." I said, "Yeah, man, I'm struggling through this meeting right now." He said, "Well, you can't do that. We got to go on the road, man. We're going all over the world to promote the movie." And I said, "I love you, baby."
Yeah, get me out of here.
I love you. You rescued my ass.
All right, I got a question.
Go.
Did you ever go see, you were on a show called Taxi, you might not remember, but did you ever see Andy Kaufman go do stand-up just like at the Comedy Store?
Yeah.
And how was that?
That was bizarre.
Yeah, bizarre. Cool. Yeah.
But I went to see him do that, and I saw him, and I went out to eat at the restaurant he busboyed out in the valley. It was
after he was on Taxi.
Yeah, while he was on the show. He busboyed out in
I love it.
On I think I'm not sure the name of the deli. Yeah, it was a good might have been Katz's. No, what the hell? In the valley. It wasn't Art's Deli. It was the other one. It's closed now. But
Jerry's?
It was on is it on Ventura Boulevard? It was
Jerry's is, yeah.
Jerry's. Yeah, that was
probably
might have been it.
Yeah.
Jerry's.
Yeah.
And you know, we went out. We had like a couple of us from the show. I think Tony might have been with me. Judd might have come. We just one night went out and we knew he was working, and so we went and ate, and you know, had conversations with it like you would have with the busboy. Not Andy. Andy's nowhere around.
All right, he's the busboy now.
He was the busboy. It was like really great. I mean, that guy was like, yeah, we had some fun. His dressing room was right next to mine. We would, he was hysterical. One day, somebody was delivering a package, and it was a woman, and he started yelling at her because she was, I don't know, UPS, or I can't remember what. Maybe it was the government. I don't know what the fuck it was, but she's walking in. She's got a uniform on. She's delivering a package to somebody, and he tells her that she should be home. You know, she's taking a man's job, and he booked her into a wrestling match. I was there for that one. Right in the hallway, both of them turning red. You know what I mean? Like chokeholds. We had to break them apart a couple of times. He was so serious about that shit.
You could do that
like crazy about that shit.
I don't think you could, actually.
I mean, you could do that. You could do, yeah, I don't know. There was no like, you know, again, if that was today, somebody would be out with a cell phone, and the next thing you know, it would be online, and people would comment about it, and they would say, you know, but I'll tell you, the woman that he was fighting was as big as he was. And she did a good job, man. She had his ass down big time. You know, it was I don't know if Tony, I always wondered if Tony always had a little camera with him, Danza. And I was wondering if he, you know, had one of those little, always had a camcorder.
8mm.
Were you cast before Andy? Were you cast first, or did you have any hand in the casting?
No, I think Andy might have been cast. I was the last. I think I might have been one of the last members to be cast. And the story was that I was told later was that my part was actually written as a voice that came over the loudspeaker,
Oh, yeah.
like
Uh-huh.
kind of like Carlton the doorman. 'Cause
Yeah, I
they
remember
were
Carl the
all
doorman.
involved in that guy. And then ultimately, I came in and did my famous audition where I said said to them before they just introduced me, and I said to Brooks and Weinberger and Danny Davis was there, all the guys sitting around. I said, one thing I want to know before I start, who wrote this shit? And I threw it on the table. And it was like a split second of like, am I going to get thrown out? Not even, a nanosecond where they
Yeah, of
didn't do it, and
course.
then they just fucking pissed themselves, right? And then it was one of those auditions where you couldn't say anything, you couldn't do anything wrong. I'd say and I'd get a laugh.
Oh, I love it.
It wasn't, it was that was Joel.
Riga.
The casting director was Joel Thurm. He said, you got to come and do this. You got, and I said, yeah, man, okay, cool.
What a fucking score that was!
What a score that was! Yeah.
Yeah.
What was
Jesus.
weirder, working with Andy Kaufman on Taxi or then doing The Man on the Moon with Jim Carrey doing Andy Kaufman?
I think working with Jim was like really off the charts. That was the most fun. Like I've had fun like on.
Sure.
I'm really fortunate. I had fun on a lot of the movies. I've never had one of those, oh, fuck, that was awful movies. I always had these like really quirky kind of things. And being on the set with Jim Carrey, sorry about that. Being on
Hello,
the set
Jim.
with Jim Carrey was, oh, it is Jim. No, I'm only kidding. He was like so far in, all the story. We saw the documentary.
Mm-hmm.
I was producing that movie. And so but also playing, God rest his soul, George Shapiro. Anyway, he was busting my balls constantly. And, and Milos is then, see, it's infectious because then what would happen, we were having fun, but Milos should go to me, you got to go to Matthew's trailer. I'm losing time. I got to get, the studio is going to be on my ass.
Yeah.
And I'm going, Andy, Jim,
Tony
you know what I mean? Come on out. And he's going, but it was fun. It was, even though it was like, and I've got a lot of friends who worked on that movie, and we still talk about that experience because Pam Abdi was my assistant at the time. She was there, and knowing that I was going through what was going on. I mean, he did things like okay, we're acting in the movie, but I'm also the producer, one of the producers of the movie, and so he would get mad at and he pulled his car up to my trailer, and went up. There's got the little metal steps.
Yeah,
he jammed the car up, put it in gear or something, locked it, took the keys. I couldn't get out of my trailer. The Teamsters had to come with a crane to get the car. It was like one of those. It was a crazy, crazy time.
I love Jim Carrey.
Yeah,
Jim Carrey's fucking great. Just the fact that he committed that.
Did he get nominated for Best Actor for that? Or
no, I don't know. We had a really
brilliant.
It was he was brilliant in that part, and and seriously would turn it on and off when he wanted. So that was like one of those things where whenever he came to the set, he was always in character. But if you see him like, off, like I went to his house or something like that for some thing, he was like cool. He wasn't, he wasn't like a serial killer off the, the set.
He's sort of a quiet, sweet guy. Yeah.
Quiet, sweet guy, but then turned into like Tony Clifton.
I love it.
Which was
Tony Clifton is a whole other.
That was fucked up, man.
Yeah.
We shot at a place called Chasen's down on.
I remember that place.
Okay. He spread, there was some kind of, I don't know, union strike or something. There was something going on. He wrote like big letters, like, in red ink. I mean, red spray paint all over the building. I had to repaint the entire building.
It's like a Farley. It's like having a crazy person on the set.
Chris.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it was. I always loved Chris, and because he would take it to that,
Oh yeah.
he was always the one.
Oh
who
my
went,
God.
Yeah,
Same kind
God,
of thing.
you guys-
Just a lot of attention, a lot of craziness, and
Chris.
lovable, sweet guy like Jim. I mean, but they really liven things up. There's always a story after the fact.
There's always a story.
Dana, I got to ask Danny about always an Always Sunny question, because we can't let you go without talking about Always Sunny. One question of mine is, I don't see all the episodes, but I see a lot of it on Instagram, which I don't know if you know this, but when they show TikTok and Instagram clips, they're always so fucking filthy. I'm like, are these from the real show? Are they getting away with all this stuff?
Are they filthy? I don't know. I don't.
I mean, like, just they're very R-rated, and I thought,
Yeah, the show is a little bit.
I mean, people love that fucking show. They love
Yeah,
it.
the show is a little. I don't know
A
what
little.
you're talking about, but we have had some innuendos.
Well, they're hilarious.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some innuendos for sure. I'm not sure if they're even innuendos. They're just straight ahead. But yeah, it's so funny, and it's such a long run. It sounds like a gift, I'm sure. Just
it
like
is a gift.
Being with fun. They all look fun as shit. I don't know everybody that well, but
no, they're all. When I got this show, that Landgraf was my buddy, and he showed me this
FX
show.
boss, right?
Yeah, forget FX. And then I met them, and they were, just the way they are, and the same cat, the three oddballs.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met Caitlin, and she's like hysterical,
hilarious.
But they're a lot of fun to go to work with. Yeah, it's good. It's a good job. Sure. It's been on there forever.
Keeps giving.
And now Matilda, we have to talk about.
Yeah.
Matilda came to me. Yeah.
Which you directed the movie.
I did. I directed the movie, and and I saw Mara Wilson in the movie Mrs. Doubtfire, and she was a little bit older when I met her. Perfect for Matilda, and we shot the movie, and it was great. We had a great time. That was fun. That was hundreds of kids. There was no CG. We added kids and all that stuff.
Yeah.
This was all real kids. It was really great. Me on the stage with a bullhorn. Yeah, do this, do that. Like, and get your finger out of your nose. We're shooting. Okay, let's
wrangling
go.
Cats. Yeah.
Wrangling. Yeah. And so now we're doing it on. We've taken the sound out. You've seen these things. Everybody's does it with E.T. and does it with Star Wars and does it with Back to the Future. I took the soundtrack out, and David Newman is going to conduct the Philharmonic. It's a symphony orchestra.
Okay, yeah.
New Jersey Symphony Orchestra, and we're doing that on March 22nd in New Jersey at the State Theater in New Brunswick, and it's really exciting to do because here's the thing: you take the sound out, not just the music out. But I narrate the movie as well as play a part in it. So when I'm narrating, I'm on stage actually with the symphony orchestra. It's really intimidating, but it's really a lot of fun. Yeah, and you're watching the streamer go by on. I got a little monitor with the movie. He's conducting the score. The people are watching the movie.
Oh.
I got a brand new print, and it's just beautiful. The print is like gorgeous, and then when it's my turn to narrate, talk, he conducts. It's like being conducted
over it. You talk over it.
Yeah. Well, in the movie, I play the part of Wormwood, Mr. Wormwood, and I also narrate the movie. So, because I tried to find somebody to narrate the movie, but being the egotist I am, I couldn't.
Yeah,
I wasn't happy
embarrassing.
with anybody else.
Cast yourself.
Like, that's myself, and it's kind of a trip to see. You play the part, you're narrating the movie, and I've got Rhea, of course, plays Mrs. Wormwood. She's going to come on the 22nd,
Great.
and I've got Pam Ferris coming over from England. She played the Trunchbull. It's really astounding how many kids love the
Miss Trunchbull.
Miss
Miss
Trunchbull. She was
Yeah,
like
that's right.
really
Yes.
tough. And Mara's
By the way, I
gonna
don't
be-
hear about a lot of these things, Danny. You don't hear about the symphony, maybe with a Star Wars or something, but this is a really
this
interesting
is, like,
thing to
unique.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Fun, challenging situation.
Yeah, it's and David Newman, who wrote the score. We've done this once before. We did it once before. We did it a few years ago with a orchestra from the East Coast, not New Jersey, and it worked out really great. It's fun. It's a fun night because you get to, but you're right. Usually it's done with more like Back to the Future-y kind of
Mhm.
E.T. blockbuster crazy movies. This one is it's got a lot of music in it, so it's fun.
Who wrote the score?
David Newman. He's
David
he's
Newman,
one of
sorry.
the Newman, the Newman pack. There's as soon as the Newmans were born, the father was the head of 20th Century Fox Music, did a lot of the scores of all the old movies that we love.
Yeah.
And his brother, they have the whole. You always see the Newman name on, and then David scores Thomas Newman, Randy Newman. They're all related. These guys. They were all like as soon as they're born, they give them a violin or stick them little babies. The first thing the Newmans do.
Yeah, even Eric Newman is his son. Randy's son produces Narcos, a lot of movies. So
there you go.
Everyone's in the biz.
Yeah, everybody's in the biz. So this should be a really good night.
Sounds great.
Yeah,
Sounds great.
Are you guys in the East Coast? Are you here?
Sometimes.
We are in California, but if I was out there, I'd crash that party.
Yeah, crash
Definitely.
that party because we're gonna have. The State Theater in New Brunswick is new for me. I've never been there, but
I think I played there.
The symphony orchestra. You did? Yeah,
I believe so. How many
It's a
seats
nice-
is
it's a
that
big theater.
about? 2,000? 2,500?
it's 1,800.
Okay, I think I played there.
1,800.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
great
theater.
theater. This would be really fun. I love live music and live symphony orchestra. It's just, and then to have you there
Yeah, it's a hell of a
narrating and seeing the
score.
film. Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
I would go see it, everybody.
Package
Yeah.
deal.
Are you on the East Coast right now, Danny?
Yeah, I'm on the West Coast. We're probably right around the corner from each
West
other.
Coast, okay.
I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, I'm on the West Coast.
Wow, I'll wave. Anyway, it's been a pleasure, Danny. Good luck with this.
Thanks.
This has been a presentation of Odyssey. Please follow, subscribe, leave a like, a review, all the stuff. Smash that button, whatever it is, wherever you get your podcasts. Fly on the Wall is executive produced by Dana Carvey and David Spade, Jenna Weiss-Berman of Odyssey, Charlie Finan of Brillstein Entertainment, and Heather Santoro. The show's lead producer is Greg Holtzman. So I was selling my house, Dana, and we had an offer, and the guy goes, we'll give you half cash and half Bitcoins.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, my sons would say take it.
I know, but I got scared. I would have taken a little bit in Bitcoins, but I don't know, because then it got into like, we can get you a condo in the metaverse, a really good one that's just being built. I'm like, right.
I know, the metaverse.
On a good street in the metaverse.
Are we behind or what?
I know,
We
and
got to
I
get in
feel
the metaverse.
I feel stupid. I live in the regular verse.
I know this physical world is kind of a drag. I just want to put the goggles on, sit back, light up something, have a little liquid encouragement, and just live my life.
Yeah, I'm getting stressed every day.
But I do like seeing you in the Wall Street Journal and other. I read a lot of newspapers online, and I see your face. David Spade sells, and then it's just this gigantic number.
So
and I'm like,
it's a new world when everyone knows the square footage of your house and they walk through it and they go, oh, so that's where you sleep. That's where you eat your carrots. It's just definitely weird. And then everyone goes, how's the house going? Oh, strangers on the street. Hey, did a visual tour of your house. I go, oh, gross.
Hey, you know, the premise of people in show business is that all of us have the exact same goal, to be as famous as possible.
Sick.
Like, that is our goal. So I haven't seen you around much lately. You know, my son, I still get this. I've been in the business 40 years. My kids love you. they're like 8, 13. Really? What about you? Yeah, my kids love you.
I
like
don't
I'm
barely
some
know.
kind of
Can
clown?
I get a picture? Because my kids say you're something. You know who's on Daryl Hammond?
Daryl Hammond, one of the best impressionists ever.
Yeah, long tenure at SNL. He had a great run.
His Clinton, after the great late Phil Hartman did him, and it was Clinton's second term, and Daryl's take on it was kind of owned it. He did the lascivious thing, but it wasn't grotesque. It was just very subtle. I do like mamas, you know. He's so fun to talk to because he loves to talk process.
You guys are going to talk about the process of, how do you come up with impressions? How do you do it? Do you copy other people? Do you take tricks? Do you make it your own? It was so interesting because I don't do many, and I want to hear the whole situation.
Anyway, yeah, it's interesting part of comedy anyway. When you see someone do something, like I don't even like to really watch comedians because they may be doing something that I've thought of, and now I'll think I'm copying them. Yeah. So with an impression, it's kind of the same thing. When someone gets it out there first and does all the hooks, you know?
Yeah, they find a hook that you don't find. You're like, oh, now it'll look like I took
So I have to copy those hooks.
Yeah.
That's why I jumped quick with Biden, just to get that turf. And I don't see anybody trying to do Biden.
Yeah, you get the blueprint of the hooks.
I have new hooks, too. But talking with Daryl was really fun. I've noticed with people we interview, there's a humility and kind of a self-deprecating aspect to them. And I kind of think that driven people, the reason they're so successful is, hey, you did this, 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 and this. They're like, yeah, we had the best Clinton. Then your Dick Cheney was amazing. All right. You know what I mean? It's really interesting because I guess it's part of drive is you never go, I arrived. You know, people in our career have gotten that attitude and they were gone in like a weekend.
Yeah. I think you have so many failures when you're doing this job that it's so hard to get cocky because you just know there's another one around the corner.
Well, I remember our former manager goes, some guys do this for money. That's okay. This is Brad Gray. But you seem to do it because you want to do the funniest thing.
That is the truth.
Well, yeah, we want this podcast to be good rather than, it's a victory lap. It's called resting on your laurels. You don't have to do anything new. I don't know. I mean, I like our friends Steve Martin and our friend Martin Short.
Yeah.
Doing an incredible half-hour comedy on Hulu. Cadence 13 produces this show.
Oh, yeah, Cadence 13.
Cadence 13.
Which I thought
sounds like a space station.
Yeah.
Cadence 13, come in.
I thought
Cadence
it was
13,
a Korean boy band.
Korean boy band. Oh, yeah, you saw their hits. Hey, girl, and What You Thinking, Girl.
Hey, podcast girl.
Daryl Hammond is... he has an emotional story. He had a very interesting childhood, like a lot of us. And so we do kind of unpack that. And we go into the process pretty deeply, and we admire some of our other impressionists where their impressions are so good we don't even want to try.
All right, here's Daryl Hammond. We're never going to use this one anyway, Dana. Never. There's not a chance. Oh, hey, Daryl.
That's our number one request is Daryl Hammond. That's it. Get the guy who said live from New York more times than Dana Garno. Because Carvey's so cocky about that live from New York stuff.
Hey, by the way, Daryl, we're going to let you talk at the very end. But me and Dana talked the whole time. But
right.
Do you know, I didn't even know I was angry with you until just now because I never got to say live from New York.
You didn't?
Oh.
Isn't that horrible?
Daryl, how many times did you say it? Do you know?
I heard it was in the 80s. But...
I just heard you broke my record. I had people like, broke your record, man. I go, I didn't even know I had a record.
I never even got close. Never got close to doing
Well, it's because you had mostly when you're the president, you get to do it a lot. So you did it a lot as Clinton. And then what were you doing it from 2000 to 2009 after Clinton got out?
Let's see. Well, Clinton did twice, and then Bush came in. So then I was playing Cheney. So I did it.
And
I
Al
did it a
Gore.
lot as Cheney, and and then there was about a year there where I was doing it a lot as Trump. So I think that's
Was Dana? Did you ever go live from Gaga? It's by Gaga.
I just eventually, they didn't even know. I mean,
Well,
the cue cards just were in Greek.
Just said words like still just like la ga ba.
All my comedy is just things that make no sense.
funny.
Ga. But one of the best rhythms that I heard as a guy doing a politician was Daryl doing lockbox. I mean, the way you said as Al Gore, it was so you do it.
oh yeah, I did it a bunch. I did it a bunch as Gore.
Lockbox. Yeah.
Oh shit, I can't remember. Let me see. How did that go?
I'm gonna put it in a. It was just this guy, you know.
Yeah, what did you call Gore? Like a gay Forrest
Gump.
Forrest-
I know I can't do that anymore, but I do think now I think of a Tennessee gentleman from like some kind of 1930s movie, and it has nothing to do with effeminate or not. It's just a Tennessee. I do take umbrage, madam, with your nature, but it does come off like just a Tennessee gentleman.
Good, yeah.
But it was very funny the way you would say, I put it in a lockbox. Those are the kind of things that make me happy.
I mean, I had been doing Gore in the Village. I kept going up Comedy Cellar trying to figure out what's the angle on this guy. And I couldn't find anything. Nobody, and we even did an update, and no one even know who Gore was.
Yeah, I know.
Until the 2000 debates. And then, of course, as we're coming up to game time on Saturday around 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Game time.
Downey comes in with about a 70-page script, like a really long.
Yeah.
It's usually Franken.
Yeah, because that cold open was long. It was like a 10-minute cold open.
Yeah.
What was it about?
It was the first debate of the 2000 debates.
Oh, it was just a long
Bush.
debate. Okay.
Bush, that's where, was that the one where Will said strategery or something?
Yeah. So Downey comes in like about 5 o'clock with the script, and he starts reading the thing to me. Okay. Now I could not figure out Gore and what the hell to do with that guy, because he had so many coaches, and he was one day he's like this and that's some sort of a list, but another day he was something else. He was like, let me tell you about a friend of mine. Her name's Etta Munson. She's 94. Right? But I always made sure I clenched and put just sort of a I didn't mess with Texas,
Yeah, you change your jaw to get the sound you need, right?
Because when he got really excited, he had like a slight lisp,
Mm-hmm.
And so Downey had that in all the notes. The thing is, when Downey did the line reading, I understood what I'd been trying to come up with, which was a comic version of this guy. And Downey came in with this sort of overbearing school teacher who meant well, but just tried too hard. And it played, but that's really.
So he was sort of doing it a rough version just to read the lines, and you sort of picked up from that, and you were like, "Ooh, that's actually you stumbled into something there."
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because I'm not doing them in the Village, and nobody's laughing, and nobody cares. And then,
Good sign.
No, seriously. And Downey comes in, and he starts like, "Well, Jim, my plan is very different." And I was like, "That's it. That's the funny right there."
That's on Saturday afternoon. You've cracked the code.
And that's just funny what you say. And also just that voice is funny. And I think that Downey's good at picking out those
He's
things,
really
obviously.
great at it, and he was great like with Dan Rather and everything. And like we're going out to the floor. Downey's behind me with the papers in his hand, and he's going over again. Let me tell you about that syrupy, overbearing school teacher. And I was like, hammer it into me, Jim. Just keep going.
Yeah.
Just keep fucking going. Let me hear it, because you've got it.
And then you just walk out and do it. He's like loading you.
Yeah. And he's like standing a few feet off camera, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, yeah,
I know. You don't want to lose it, so you just want to mumble it and keep saying it. And of course, it was a great juxtaposition with the caricature of W as the frat boy, loose from the hip guy, and then painting Gore as the school marm was comedic energy. It was funny. I mean, but I don't know how these politicians feel about it, because they do get put in a box pretty quickly.
They do when we do it, real fast, and that's how people think they talk now. And it's like when you were doing Bush Senior. I mean, what the hell was that? And it was just like, all of a sudden people were like, that's how George Senior talks.
Not really.
And it wasn't really that. Yeah, it has to be slightly exaggerated somewhere to get a hook.
That's right. And that's what I learned from Dana was caricature, because I studied you, and then we did that Carson Donahue thing, and
I love that. Your Donahue was supernatural. You must be some kind of, I mean, it was just such a funny rhythm. And then Carson against that was just,
Was that when you
really
hosted, Dana,
nice
or
sketch.
we were on the show
One
together?
of the times I hosted, we got to do that. It wasn't like a debate. We were in like a sketch, like hanging out in a kitchen or something. So it was different, but
like we were getting ready to go out for dinner.
Yeah, it was such an odd juxtaposition, but I love the Donahue. Just the character of Donahue. He goes right into it. The head's bobbing. You took one thing that he does, and you just
he builds a little
made it into this beautiful, beautiful caricature of, right? That sincerity thing.
You're a blue collar guy.
It's so funny. And he goes, It's great.
Blue collar guy. Married 20 years to the same gal. I mean, come on.
He actually came up to me when I was kind of at the peak of my time on SNL at some kind of lunchroom, and he just did what you did. You got to be feeling great about this thing. And he did the exact same thing. So that was such a fun sketch to do.
I met him one night, and he was like, you got to feel like God is in his head. The stars are back where they belong. And you're like, what?
What? Now the Clinton. Tell us about your Clinton, because you owned Clinton after Phil. You did Clinton, and you extenuated it or made it your own. And just what was your hook with him, kind of? Because I kind of do a modern Clinton, which I'll do in a minute, which I found in the last 5 years.
I want to hear that.
But let's go over how you found that for.
I didn't really find it until I got a chance to meet him and be up close to him and feel him and see him do that thing.
Yeah,
where he takes the room and gets inside your personal space, and he's like a foot taller than me. He's got a tux on and shit, and it's the president of the United States, and
he's always seducing, right?
Oh, he's seducing. Oh, yeah, he's seducing
everybody. It's just charm. Yeah.
I mean, he was sort of like I said to him, okay, I'm just not gonna try to act like I don't look stupid. He said something to me like this is a paraphrase, but not by much. It was something like, but I mean, Daryl, and he's so close to me. He's in my personal space, and he's like, I mean, I make so sincerely, I make the headlines, but you turn them into gold.
I'm
like, I also, I'm just like, should I fuck? Are we gonna fuck? like I will so fuck you right now, and I'm not gay, and I don't care.
I don't care.
I don't think I have to be gay to enjoy this.
You know, I went to a buddy's party at his house. It was probably like 10 people, and we go in the kitchen. He goes, "There's food in the kitchen," and we go in there. And I was with a date, and Aquilera was there. There's probably like 10 people, a couple of celeb types,
Christina
and then
Aguilera.
here's Clinton's in there, and I heard he was there, but I was like, he's here, and he's in there with a Secret Service guy, and they're eating pizza, and everyone just starts eating around the big island in the kitchen, and then he goofs around, and then he goes, "Well, now you're the funny guy. Why don't you tell us some stuff to me?" And I was, of course, I was stumbling and fumbling, but the point was, I see the allure, and I see how interesting he is, and how riveting, and you can't believe you're in this small space with him. And then obviously the girls were all like freaking out, and afterwards she's like, "Can I just push you in this wood chipper on the way out and run back in?" Because she was not even faking it. She's like, I can't even deal with this. I'm so into him.
You know, when I had told my wife at the time, who doesn't really like men anyway, but
we'll dig into that on part 2.
Yeah. But I said, I think the guy's got like some sort of weird charisma. And she said, that's bullshit. There's no such thing. And I was like, if I invite you, if he invites me again, you come and meet him. And so, she came there, and he saw her, detected he had an undecided voter,
right, and wanted to
really lower
win it.
the boom on her, and went over to her and just gave her the fucking
works.
Listen,
Yeah.
There was a point in it where there was like a bright red patch appeared on her cheek. I was like, bitch.
You can always tell.
So flustered.
Yeah.
By him, and so was I. And he's just
a good word.
Where are you from? And she's like, Key Largo. He's like, oh, I love Key Largo.
Oh,
like,
no matter what you say.
Yeah, and she's like, well, it has a depressed economy. And then he said something to her. It was something like, there's nothing wrong with Key Largo. It cannot be fixed by what is right. With Key Largo.
And he goes, like, also, I use my dick as a tongue depressor sometimes if you want me to jam it down your gullet.
I did later on. I thought in the last like 5-6 years. Okay. He kind of went real fast. Like, remember when Hillary fainted when she was running against Trump? And then he went on Charlie Rose.
Fake.
And I noticed that he did a lot of throwaway kind of mumbling. And I don't know if you did that hook, but it's kind of like, well, Hill's a fainter. I mean, she faints a lot all the time, because she's a little itty bitty thing, and she's heavy in the bun of the thigh, which I find adorable. But she, there's a little humidity, and she starts going around like a whirling dervish. But he sort of has this kind of throwaway, casual thing that he does. And I don't know what people are saying or what are they, like, kind of almost fast. I don't know lately, but that was 5 years ago.
I mean, I really wish I had picked up on that, because that would just have been gorgeous for him to be saying directly and talking directly. And they'll say, let me tell you something about this. I thought, sort of like a madman, like a diarrhea of the mouth dye. But you do, his voice now is hoarse, correct?
Somewhat hoarse. I never really did him. When I did him on the variety show I did with Smigel and Louis C.K. and Carell and Colbert, I just did him in the first sketch, and it bombed out the show, but I didn't do it at all. Like, I had because Phil had done it, you owned it. And sometimes when someone owns it on Saturday Night Live, you're kind of like, that's whoever has it on SNL. They're the president of comedy of that character.
Right.
And then I was asked to do it, and I just didn't have anything at all. It's terrible. I've only just casually observed him in the last few years and found him very interesting, how he his mouth is kind of open, and there's sort of a normal guy in his 70s, kind of, that's a little rough and stuff. I just do it for my own amusement. I mean, it's not much to do with it.
He's not senile or anything yet. He's still pretty sharp dude, right?
Oh, yeah.
He's thin. He got thin. Yeah.
Because of all the cardiovascular stuff, which I can speak to, but, where you just like, he went vegan or something after his second whatever operation. But anyway, so, yeah. What's your favorite impression you've ever done?
What are your favorite ones?
Well, first, let me say, I want to talk about when Lauren asked me to do Regis Philbin after Dana had left me nothing.
Dana
was
took
like-
every crumb.
I was like,
I thought you did it great, by the way. And I never had a problem with that. I don't, Sherry O'Terry did it once, stunt casting in those days, but before you did it. And I just thought, I don't own the impression. I mean, people would say to me, well, I'm just doing George Bush, my hook. You could do it. I mean, I don't own it. But so anyway, speak to that.
After you did it, I want to do it like that,
Exactly. You don't want to copy the hooks of somebody. You want to discover them on your own. And I must have done it 10 times on the show.
Yeah. And like if I were, if I were doing it in a club and I did like an act, like my version, they wouldn't laugh at it. And I never even tried after you did it, I never even tried it on stage. With Regis, I said to Lauren, it's like Dana took everything. It can't be done better than that. He's like, well, we need it. And
Just do it like however.
So what I decided to
do. So
do
what did you do?
Was close off his nasal passages,
Yes.
That's what I decided to do. And it made the sound slightly different. And this way I wasn't doing you. Do you know what I mean?
No, I know. And that's part of his frequency, I would say, a little bit nasal.
Yeah, Joy and I were down at Tijuana in a cave that was 1,000 years old. It was 1,000.
I did a sign off the other day with William Shatner and just went into Regis in a way of just being able to visit with him again.
Honest to God. It starts with honest to God, when he showed me this guy, Daryl Hammond, let me tell you, he's a human tape recorder. He can do anybody. Honest to God, everybody loves him. He did Bill Clinton, he did this.
And you're just like, the charm of Regis when he would sign off with a guest, just that specific thing was so fun to inhabit,
Yeah, I mean, the guest is on the show, like going, or he'll say something like, and so and so and so and so and so and so. Then he'll pause and then he'll go, but that's terrific. Anyway.
What does he lose?
Well, that's what he do. He do his story. There I was with Brokaw, dead tennis, and we had a terrible table. Then he'd take a sip of coffee.
But that's terrific.
But anyway, that's what happens when you're doing these things. Let me tell you, you're the toast of the town, kid.
But yeah, he's a fun guy. I mean, do you ever just because I'll do it sometimes with Paul McCartney or something. I'll just find myself kind of mumbling if I'm alone, just sort of doing it just to be in that attitude with McCartney.
Yeah, you can actually do Paul McCartney, and I swear to God, it's not the fucking easiest thing to do.
Ooh, I like to hear that.
It's true. Oh, come on. Everyone thinks they can do the Liverpoolian accent. It's not that damn easy.
It for me, the hook into it is making up words that are Liverpudlian colloquialisms, but are sort of made up.
Boopily boo.
And that, we're sitting here, with Daryl Hammond, we're doing the talky talk, we're zooming in, and we can't hear each other so good, we get wobbly. And that's the fun of it, is repeating those little phrases. And I like being Paul McCartney. I do a thing about just, if the news is bad, just filter it through his attitude. We had a pandemic, a little virus came around. We all sat inside, had a cup of tea. What do? I said, put a mask on with Robert Banker, And so it's just
Robert Banker?
Yeah, you make them up. You just add an E and an R. You Robert Banker. And he's like, hold you up. I hold you up. So I love just visiting that. I mean, do you find yourself coming on to any voice sometimes just to deal with stress in a way, or just, or it just makes you feel good to be that character?
Yeah, there was a guy that I knew that was supposedly mobbed up that when I used to hang out at McHale's in 46 and 8th, that was like the most colorful guy. And he probably had a third grade education, but they said he was a gangster and he talked like a gangster. And he said funny, charming, super smart things with bad grammar, like, what he said to me is like, he's like, Daryl, you know what happens if you hit a guy in the head with a lamp, right? Hit a guy in the head with a lamp. You know what happens after that? You go to the penitentiary. You understand?
You understand?
The penitentiary. Because there was a guy in my house that had insulted me. He was a house guest of mine. So I'm drinking. I'm like, I felt like hitting the guy in the head with a lamp. And he's like, Daryl, and tomorrow morning on the bus to Rikers Island. Right?
Yeah.
But listen to this, Danny. He said to me, he
Kumba.
goes, and the other thing about it is, you get your bun on, you hit a guy with a lamp, and you alter him, Daryl. You alter. Most humans cannot alter another. I'm like,
Alter.
See, that's the hook.
I'm like, what is alter? Like, what is
like
that?
their brain.
Because yeah. He was
You'll
like
make him different or something, right?
Yeah, it was like he was saying, well, I mean, you tune a guy up, he wakes up with a headache or whatever. When you alter another, he wakes up with a speech impediment. You understand?
You understand it?
And he don't walk right no more. He don't laugh all the way no more. You got to walk in tub now. That kind of thing.
Walk in tub now.
Oh, I love that. I really relate to that because when you go in a character like that, you just don't feel afraid. You're like a guy, if we want to dance, we can dance. I don't like to dance, but I'll dance with you. You want to dance?
I like the tough guy that's trying to keep it cool like that. Like
the tough guy. And I love it when they add no at the end of a sentence. So I have a friend like that, Gary Prince. He lives in Florida, from Brooklyn. And you're eating and stuff. He goes, "Is this good pasta? No?" He says no at the end. I love that. Good pasta, no?
Yeah, that's.
But it makes you brave I always thought when I was a kid growing up in California that New York or the East Coast could beat us up. Like if there was they came at us, they're just so tough and, what the fuck you gonna do? I got these drivers I'm always faithful to my wife. I got a couple things on the side, but I'm monogamous. Every 2 times a month I met this little gal, but I'm monogamous. I mean, these are direct quotes, and you go, who are these guys? I mean, no wonder The Sopranos was so brilliant, Did you ever try to do Tony Soprano? I didn't, but
there was a time when I was doing a sketch with Molly, and she was doing the 50-year-old dancer. I had a decent Tony Soprano, and
it's very high, isn't it?
The cue cards were so different from dress. Like I hadn't actually seen these words before.
Oh, tough.
And I mean, I had like pancake in my mouth, and I panicked, and I went into like a Brando thing.
I can relate to that.
I couldn't think of anything else. I lost the impression. It was I actually had dinner with him one night. With some restaurant called the Five Towns. He was supposedly going to play like a hitman, like a gay hitman. We had the same acting teacher, so the acting teacher put us together, and we were there, and I was drinking, and the only thing I remember him was asking me if I was okay, and I said, "What? I think I'm drinking too many martinis," and he leans into me, and he says, "Jesus fucking Christ! Jesus fucking Christ!" And I was like,
"That's a good hook."
Anyone else hear that?
Jija.
Jesus Christ.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I didn't think he was that easy. The guy that mystifies me, have you ever done a Shatner?
You know what? When someone, I did it in early stand-up when I was in college. Mm-hmm. But when, Kevin Pollak took a ride with Shatner and Walken, wound it down so hard. It's another thing where you're like, I guess I'll leave that alone. I always wanted to do John Malkovich, but I always go to Travolta. That's kind of a casual goal of mine, is to do a perfect John Malkovich. But with Shatner, I didn't. But you did him, right, on the show, didn't you?
Yeah, but not well. I mean, I was, Higgins helped me out a lot with it. I was stuck on an impression. I was stuck on Pollak's impression, and it's like doing Nicholson. I didn't want to do it after I'd seen so many people do it so well.
Yeah.
And Pollak was the one you both thought was a good one, right?
Pollak, I thought, was the king.
He went crazy with it. He had a physicality with the elbow and the head turn. Kevin will wind down on things so hard, and there's so much nuance. I mean, his Walken is the same kind of thing. There's several guys who can do a brilliant Walken, but his... I mean,
there was a guy back then that I loved and I followed pretty clely named Joe Alaskey, who had
Joe Alaskey.
Yeah.
Had he ended up doing Yosemite Sam for Warner Brothers. He did. But he had a really, really nice Shatner, and I was afraid that when I was doing him, I would
Really exquisite Shatner.
exquisite. I mean,
So you don't like you intentionally, you don't want to be influenced by other impressionists. You'd rather discover it on your own, right?
Walking you can do at home now. Walking anybody can do now. I think I don't know who started walking out of all you guys, but as being a casual observer, it's turned into like a Lorne where you can just take it home and a to go, and everyone at home can do it. But it's always a version of whoever started it. I don't know. I don't know who do you remember was one of the first walk-ins?
I don't really know. I think that because of SNL, when you have a personal story that you're telling, like when Walken said, Bez suit's so funny and Bez as well, then you don't even really care if it's accurate. He's just a character in your story. But as far as doing the clubs, he went through his peak. I mean, everyone was doing Nicholson, and then for a while, everyone's doing Walken. I don't know what it is now, as far as the younger movie stars. I mean, I've been doing Brad Pitt I just do Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I saw the movie 11 times because I just got possessed by it.
really?
Yeah.
I'd like to hear about that.
I just saw it the first time, and then I just thought, that was okay. And then I saw it again, then I saw it with my brother, then I saw it with my wife, then I showed it to relatives, then I saw it down here. And let's face it, man, I'm a goddamn has-been. What'd that guy say to you? Don't cry in front of the Mexicans. Look, I like being your gopher, and I like house sitting. But let's face it, I haven't worked as a stunt man in quite some time. And I think there's a lot of things worse than going making Italian movies. Yeah, I don't want to be a goddamn Italian movie. How many you seen? 1, 2? I love the movie so much.
Cool.
I mean, I love that movie so much
That's cool. That's good.
It's wonderful.
I'll do more. I've memorized the movie, basically.
I ended up going to Cielo Drive and everything, the Sharon Tate house.
Oh, you got possessed by the movie too?
Yeah. 1,000%.
By the way, Kevin Pollak has seen it 12 or 13 times.
How do you know that?
I had dinner with him and asked him.
They're old buddies from San Fran.
That guy Pollak, when I saw him do Walking, I'm like, all right, no, I ain't doing that.
It's over. It's locked.
It really reminds me of, when I was a kid, I was 21, 22, and just moved to New York. And through a friend of a friend, we got tickets to the Public Theater to see Meryl Streep in a play called Taken in Marriage. And
she does
in
walk
the play, we were in the second row at the Public Theater, and in the play, she played this woman from Connecticut who had a cold and had to cry. Okay, that was her her thing for the night. And she did all of that. And I tell you, when it was over, it's like, I said to my friend, I was like, I don't know what the fuck we're doing, but we ain't doing that. We're not doing that. What she's doing up there.
Yeah. It's a different profession.
That's coming from some other place in their brain.
Like, we're taking our acting class and we're studying acting and we're doing Death of a Salesman and blah, blah, blah. And then I saw
we're not
Meryl
doing
Streep.
that. That's great.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know what the fuck we're doing, brother. We ain't doing that. Boy, was that magnificent. But Pollak, when he did the Walking, I backed off. I'm like, yours. Yeah.
Do you see some people do it and you go, not like those guys that are great, but you see casual people do it on some show and you go, or a stand-up and you go, they're close, but it's not there. They could do it way better.
If, there's also the comedy frequency of it. If somebody maybe not the perfect, but they have a funny take on it.
Yeah. That's the hard part, is to put it in your act and make a scenario. Daryl, your act is a lot of these impressions, right? So do you have to figure out ways to put it in there?
I wouldn't put a Walken in, and I wouldn't ever put a Nicholson in, and I would never put a Shatner in because, after Alaska and Pollak, what the fuck am I going to do with that? It was, it was hard enough doing Regis in my act after Dana had, knocked the ball, out of the stadium so many times, and people loved it. I don't know.
Close the nostril, and you're there.
But you own you're up in the Hall of Fame of impressionists in the last 50 years in America, all the way from Frank Gorshin and the Canadian Rich Little.
Frank Gorshin, hilarious.
Yeah, and then through some of Dan Aykroyd's impressions, Eddie Murphy, who does like, does 5 supernatural impressions. I don't know if he cares. Eddie some of his stuff is amazing, but he doesn't. I don't think he tries to learn or does a lot of them. But they're so amazing, the ones that he does. His Cosby and his, it's so in the pocket.
Mr. T, Cosby.
Yeah. Now
Jackie Gleason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Eddie was like my major, like my hero, because the first guy I ever saw that was consistently funny with his impressions, and I was so
well. He was there's no one like him. We talk about the history of Saturday Night Live, and he was 19 or 20, and he just exploded off the screen. On SNL, I was still busting tables, so I don't know how people get that confidence at that young age. We've kind of touched on that, but it's amazing to me.
But also the vocal dexterity, as Michael Jackson was also spot on. Again, not
and
that
singing
easy to
as
do.
Stevie Wonder, singing beautifully.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Oh, he can
As
sing
Stevie.
too, which is hard to do. If
He
you
can
can
really
sing and
sing.
add that level in.
Did you ever do
layer.
a singing impression, Daryl? I don't know if I have really. It's not one of my gifts, singing.
There was a time in my life when I experimented briefly with doing Anthony Newley.
Anthony Newley.
Do you
Oh
remember
wow,
him?
the funny man can't. Whatever. He's got giant eyebrows from the
Who can make
'70s.
the sunrise?
Yeah.
Sprinkle it good.
Yeah. Well, that was a very dramatic voice. I don't know if many people.
Spade is yawning through.
No,
our
I didn't.
Oh, that's
Am I
okay.
on camera?
Spade owned Tom Petty, and he would open for him. He had a hat. He didn't have any props, but he had a Tom Petty hat.
Fuck.
What did you put on? Mutton chops?
I put
and then
carpet,
he made a face.
yeah, and then I put my tongue up in the front part of my mustache area, like underneath, and it made my face pull down. It was very unattractive and a very rude one. And then when I met Tom Petty, I thought he'd be so excited about it, because Michael J. Fox or Tom Petty or people I do or be assigned on the show, you're usually a fan, but impressions are so exaggerated, they're not always flattering, and I forget that. And I forget they might not be psyched about it. And Tom Petty was pretty cool, and I remember there was an SNL book. I went over to Letterman to have him sign it, and he was very cool, but I thought, fuck. And then I over the years, I realized, God, this is kind of a dumb thing I do. I used to close with an impression, Daryl, of Petty, and I didn't really have impressions, so it was just
The music would play.
Yeah,
right?
I would sing like him and just play like the ending, and it tied into like a callback too. So it was a big, really wham bam ending, and then Dennis Miller, we did a gig, and I walk out front the next day, and he goes, and I'm holding the hat, and he goes, "You sleep with that thing, Spade?" And he goes, "Time to lose the props, guy. No props." And I go, "That's not really props. It's I just have this and a little xylophone for my Jeopardy bit." He goes, "Those are props."
If Dennis was here now, I'd say Spudley and the Ham Cat. Okay,
Yeah.
He just- he
Spudley
just-
leaning on the pad. We got to get your
Spudley
head
and the Ham
measured.
Cat sharing, copy.
Yeah, that's right. You can do.
I ran out of speed. Go ahead. The Ham Cat Hammond. Yeah, Ham Cat. Which
I can't do Dennis.
you don't do, Dennis? He was on the show. We just did him an update.
Did you do that with Hanks?
I did.
I did
with
it once.
Hanks.
I did it with Hanks. Hanks did it. Dennis did it. We all three in a row did it. If I'm in a role with Dennis, I literally, my vocabulary gets better.
Yeah.
I literally am able sometimes, because he's so fast. And when you talk to him, even today, he'll drop so many references
Bombs
and
on you, yeah,
weird, funny things. You go, where is this coming from? He's like 2 steps ahead of you. I mean, the guy is just this giant brain.
I have an
Really
impression
funny.
question for both of you.
Impression question. That's our next podcast.
Yeah.
Impression questions.
So we've talked to Shatner recently, and he's, I guess, 90 now. Dana, knowing him growing up and you did your young impression of him, is it that different now? Is the voice different? The voice is pretty, you said at the end, your voice is really strong. And that was one thing that,
Oh, yeah.
that is a trick that we're like, that's why you don't think he's old. He's not like, hello. Like 90, you'd think he'd be feeble, but he's like, hey guys, good talking. And I'm like, holy fuck, you're right. That was a strong voice. And is he that much different now, or is it still about the same type of moves he has?
Yeah. I mean, when it's irresistible to not do stuff that other people have done.
Like that Kevin Pollak thing you're talking about again?
Well, I mean, like, I don't do Shatner, but I mean, when he's like, there's da 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 da, although the face is,
Yes. And that is what we all grew up with. I mean, initially it was him as Captain Kirk. And he said he developed all that. One, if he couldn't remember the lines, he'd have a pause. I can't believe what everybody's doing. And it was intentional.
Oh, wait, that's really good.
I can't believe what he's saying.
Yeah.
And he did it, and he was mesmerizing with those rhythms. So I don't think in real life he talked like that. That was Captain Kirk, and that's where we all took it from. I mean, I didn't watch, Boston Legal that much. He played Denny Crane and the Knots, but I don't think he did that. Scotty, I need power and I need it now, And I think it was a brilliant kind of creation of his. You couldn't take your eyes off him and Spock, but
people always say, Kevin Pollak sounded more like Shatner than Shatner.
from that era, Scunny.
Yeah.
I got to get that.
It's impossible.
Impossible. They can't know what you are doing. So I mean, it would have been fun to do it.
God later, we both had to go.
Now it gets into Regis, you understand?
I actually, when I tried to learn Trump, because when he popped out, I thought of Regis.
Trump, the most
and I went and I added Brando in a weird way. I don't really do Brando, but
Regis was here, and then you walk him over to Brando, and you're sort of in here, and then you got to put a little bit.
But
I mean, Trump went through various incarnations. In the beginning, he had a stronger, more classic voice. But then when he became president and he started doing all these weird word salads,
weird ticks and rhythms, like crazy stuff. Yeah.
I studied him the year that I did him. I studied him and I found that he was inspiring really getting people to feel things. But if you look at the transcript, you can't see it because it doesn't make any. It's it's like what would be a good example? Like dogs. A lot of people like dogs. I like dogs. Cats are not nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Nice.
I mean, was he?
Nice.
Did you watch Celebrity Apprentice? I assume did a lot of people when he did Celebrity Apprentice? I didn't watch it that much, but I don't remember him doing all those many people because he will repeat one phrase like 10 times in 30 seconds. We're doing a lot of things. We're doing good things. Good things. Many people are saying many good things. Did he do that during the Celebrity Apprentice?
No,
the new
he
guy,
never did it. He never did it until he stood in front of a crowd of 30,000 people.
And then all this
and he loves
came
it
out.
too.
Yeah, I mean, like I did a show once, in front of 10,000 people in Boston, and I was aware that hearing 10,000 people respond to me was making me larger, faster, different. Yeah, just different.
Yeah.
So I'm
and you don't even know it right away. You're just sort of matching their energy, and you're like, oh shit, I'm getting off my game here.
Yeah, and I mean, this was the only time I ever had done that or have done that. And all of a sudden I was aware that I was moving differently. My voice was crisper. My segues were shorter. Like,
oh, that's interesting.
I was becoming a different comic up there.
That's cool.
And I do think if you don't feel like, if the crowd is so big, it is a little bit like a stand-up trick to repeat your premise over and over again,
We're going to win. We're going to win. We're going to win so much. You're going to say we don't want to win so much. We're going to win. We're winning. And you can't hardly exaggerate it.
You're going to say we don't want to win so much.
Yeah, that's what he has a quote.
He had a meme online that came directly from Huey P. Long, the former colorful governor of Louisiana. And Huey P. Long used to say, it's not me they're after, it's you. I'm just in the way. And that's what people, his base, walked away feeling every time like, yeah, there are people after my way of life. Yeah, we did get fucked. And on some level, a lot of them did, with that real estate scam and all of that. But Trump has my impression of him when I was around him was that he could see right through me, like a street guy, like a hustler, you know?
Yeah.
Definitely. I had a Russian hygienist. This will make sense in a second. She said Putin is trained. He's KGB. He can dissect anyone psychologically. He'll get the power. But I just wonder, he goes up against this other kind of altered, sort of quirky guy. And you always wonder the relationship between Trump and these, Putin. Because Putin probably like, how do I figure this guy out? What am I supposed to say to him? Because Trump was you're so beautiful. And I always felt he's like a mob boss. They always go, oh, he kisses ass dictators. I thought it was a total manipulation. We had a beautiful friendship. I love him. And then if you look at his policies, he was sticking him in the back. That's a mob boss thing, right? Yeah. I love you. Who loves you? And then he could do a hit on him.
What do you think? I don't know. I thought he treated Putin pretty good, didn't he?
Well, he armed the Ukrainians, which made Putin crazy. He did everything he could to stop the second Nord Stream pipeline. I mean, he had it at the bottom of the Black Sea, which was the second natural gas pipeline, and then he bombed the shit out of him in Syria and stuff. I mean, it wasn't, and then there were the diplomats, but it was subtle things, but that was juxtaposed to we're really close.
Well, what
so
about,
it's odd.
What do you both think, by the time Alec was doing Trump, he sort of had, and he's not an impressionist, but he sort of had to do just a very make-up, exaggerated version at that point. That wasn't like exactly a great Trump, but it was at least, it got so effective. Sort of character. Yeah, it was effective. It did what it was supposed to do.
I always say that, my impressions aren't impressions the way people do impressions. My impressions are SNL impressions. How to do it there when the stuff isn't written till the last second.
Yeah, it's very hard.
And I finally settled on, and I did this with, there were a number of impressions that I was funny with that weren't vocally, what I was accustomed to doing. But, with him, I mean, he was killing.
Yeah.
Okay. What else do you have to say?
And, Alec is Alec is kind of a strong, guy.
He's a really strong guy.
And
Presence.
Trump is a big, strong guy, and so there was a match there in a way, and it was very effective. It really worked. And Alec Baldwin just knows how to land a laugh in that studio, on every
yeah, I
sketch.
think he got it down to where he could get it. Plus, the crowd is so ready to pounce on Trump, so he could give a joke that's a 6 out of 10. They'll give it a 9.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that he was killing, and after that, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
The whole point is, Lauren had said, it's okay to back off from an impression if that makes it funnier. It's okay to caricature it. I even had, like those Hirschfeld drawings where he did all those exaggerations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That looked more like Kate Hepburn than Kate Hepburn.
Mm-hmm.
And so I tried to model myself after that. But, people would interview me about Alec, and I go, the guy's killing. I don't know what else you want. And also, whatever my crazy is, it doesn't extend to not wanting other people to score. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't own that character. It's not mine. I played at Yankee Stadium. I don't own third base. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't, it would be like being a hitter in the big leagues, and you don't want the other hitters to, you expect the other hitters to not do well.
Well, I didn't even think of it that way because I guess you had done it. And, yeah, I get it. But
well, we're part of a fraternity, so it's not glamorous. I mean, we know that Alec, they're getting the wig on. He's got glue. He's sweating. He's trying to get a drink of water. Mm. It'll be in the cards. It's just emotional combat being on that show.
In the end,
and I've been in the studio when they're getting ready for the cold opening. I was doing a little guest spot, and it's like nerve wracking. You see them getting ready. This is the start of the show. Hopefully, God willing, this works, And
then everything goes dead silent right before. Everyone's like,
so you just have props for, anyone who does that. It's not easy.
Who can do it and not choke.
And then from the floor, Chris is going, 30 seconds.
Yeah. And you're like,
5
okay,
seconds.
5 seconds. So one thing that I love that you did, I wanted to get to, and just pick your brain on it. When you did Sean Connery, I I felt like that was an example.
It's a great one.
The way you used it in that Jeopardy show was so powerful. Like you landed, the way it was written and the way you did him, so serious. And I don't know, that was like a magic sketch.
When I first was learning, the impression, it was the same thing with Ted Koppel. I was learning these impressions and I was probably coming close to nailing it vocally, but it wasn't funny, So I always thought of you and the stuff you've done and I tried to do him in a funny way. And it wasn't as accurate as it had been vocally when I was learning it in my office, but it was funny. I was getting my laughs.
Your whole physical attitude and everything about you was so serious and so masculine that it just in this silly show. But it really, it was just one of those.
Lauren being around there is kind of like, Daryl, it's a funny show. Is it funny? Are you being funny? Are you getting the laughs? Like the first time I did Ted Koppel, I didn't get a single laugh. And he's like, stretch it out of shape. Be like Dana.
I never did Koppel very good. Like that, the tenor that you have is perfect. The only thing I did was from the show. I'm Ted Koppel, and this is Nightline. I just took a long pause. So it's trickery.
That's
in a way.
Okay. You're what do they say in acting class? You're printing Ted Koppel. Now you can do the material.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't have thank God I wasn't vocally accurate every time, but like with Connery, it was like a whole fucking, he didn't say that last night, when I was pumping Mughal Guy Pan all over your tonsils,
It was a caricature that was so brilliant. Yeah.
I was being like Dana. I exaggerated him and it killed. As opposed to when I just, did it vocally super and then just laid there. It's a trick. I don't think people understand the pressure of doing stuff like that because it's only like the whole planet is watching. Right?
Yeah. But
like
it's
Trump tweeted about me a couple of times wow. I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, Vlad Putin's reading this, yo.
Yeah, how crazy.
You're getting ready to go on TV and they're watching in Moscow. Mm-hmm.
Wow. They're aware.
They're watching in Moscow tonight. Yeah.
If you think about it too much, you'll just start crying. I tried to just make that audience right in front of me laugh, but terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, I was doing a thing, one time I was doing a Rumsfeld bit and I look up and A-Rod is standing there and Paul McCartney and I just like panicked. I was like, what in the fuck am I doing in this room?
And they have to watch you. Yeah.
Why am I in a room with an original Beatle?
Well, there's only one.
It threw
Beatle,
me a little bit. But,
two Beatles left.
I mean,
shit.
That's kind of why they not everyone, I guess, is comfortable out there, and I'm not sure I ever was comfortable. I was always. I went home most of the time thinking I disgraced myself.
Even into after 10 years, still you didn't.
Absolutely. And then it got really, difficult for me in the end because, when Obama came in, I didn't play anyone in his administration and the writing was sort of on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Your time's up, bro. But it lasted an agonizing 2 more years. Mm-hmm. And I've always told people it's harder to get off Saturday Night Live than it is to get on Saturday Night Live.
Well, it's hard to go, where do I go? Like everyone leaves and goes, I got to go somewhere because I got to make some money and nothing beats a steady check. And whenever people forget, like in SAG or you stop a TV show or movie and it goes from good money to zero. There's no middle. It's just zero. And you go, fuck, I get a couple residuals here and there, but that's not doing it. And it's just high pressure and it's always hard to just jump and go, I got to go. And then you're like, why? And then after a week, you're like, I could still do it. I mean, I still know how to do it. But you probably do feel it's time. When I left, I felt it was time and it was a little late.
I think that you created this great character that has traveled, on situation comedies and stuff. For people like Daryl and I, there's really no place to do what we do. I mean, there's only one live sketch show from New York where you do impressions and characters. There's nothing quite like it. So I could see why it's hard to let it go. It's strange to come back. And, you always have some part of your brain like, God, why couldn't I have done this a long time? But, Carol Burnett did 9 years. I mean, there were these variety shows just aren't around. I tried it in prime time. I think Martin Short did. There was In Living Color, which was its own different style. But generally speaking, to do sketch comedy, it's just SNL. They have their own lane, really. So that's
and they know how to
unique.
do it the best. His costumes are great.
When it
Everyone there
works,
is great.
it's magic. It's live, and they have Kim Kardashian or Wayne Gretzky on there. It's got so many things
Dana
about it.
taught me that in dress rehearsal and tech rehearsal, when you're saying live from New York, you never say it's live from New York. It's Saturday night. You always say live from New York. It's gobbledygook.
I always hope I'm peaking on air. I always hope that when I was on the air show, the report card part of my brain is going, this is the best I've done it this week. You hate to peak at dress. We've talked about that, but
we did talk about it a lot. And you said, it's sort of like get your bearings, know where your mark is, get the voice right, get familiar with the language, get some laughs. And, but you said something bizarre to me. You said, save something for air.
It's hard to do, but yeah.
It didn't make any. Yeah.
It's very difficult.
Well,
but
you want to get
some-
on and you go, oh, I saved too much because the sketch got cut.
Well, you have to know if you're in the cold opening, you're probably going to go on, but, it's a real mental thing, SNL, and to try to turn the tables of confidence where you're like, I can't wait to show them what I'm going to do. Same thing with stand-up. We all do stand-up, and some nights you're just in such command and control.
Yeah.
You're just dominating, and then some nights it's just, you just feel awkward, and it's hard when you're on live TV.
Nothing worse than doing air and about 20 seconds in the air, you're like, they're not as good of a crowd.
There's nothing quite like going, so I've done this before and it's killed before, and I don't know what's wrong with you. This killed on Letterman, but it's not killing it. Yuck yucks.
Yeah. So it reverses the, right.
I mean, you
have all the
haven't
power.
been in front of a crowd and it's like you're 2 or 3 minutes in and you're going, oh wait, they don't get me.
Yeah, they're not buying it.
They don't get. I just threw my high hard when I threw my fastball, like 3 fastballs.
Yeah.
It's just not happening tonight.
I just try to break it down then. Just start doing crowd work or something. Just Mayday.
Shake it up, yeah. I always think if you're not buying the first 3 jokes, you're not going to like the last 3. They're all about the same. Like, if you don't think I'm funny, it's all about like this.
Yeah. I just gave you my best shit right there, and you just sat there like a pool of carp,
Yeah, fuck.
Oh, gross.
Why did we choose this life path? We're crazy.
We're crazy people.
Well, Daryl.
We're nutty theater folk.
Anything else for Daryl, Dana? What do you think?
I've just enjoyed this so much. We're loving this, and I say this every time. I just like hanging out with people that I've had interactions with, and especially had touchstones with Saturday Night Live. So it's just so much fun to do this. And I will come on your podcast when next time you ask me.
Oh, I'm asking you both right now.
I will whenever you just let me know.
It's really difficult. For a while we were doing well. We had we had Jane Fonda. And,
wow.
We had some pretty cool people on, and we did a decent job. But Jesus, I don't work that much, but my partner Chris Milhouse works a lot. He produces, so it's hard to get it together sometimes. But
it is. The key to podcasting is to make it as easy as possible. So you keep doing.
If you guys would come on, of course, that would give us a huge boon. And any form of servitude I could do for either one of you, let me know, because
You did
I got a setup here. I'll get rid of this buzz, but yeah, let me know. I'm happy to come on, and I'm gonna have someone transcribe this, and then we'll read it like a script. We'll just do what we just did,
like,
but
this
it'll be on
worked
your
really
podcast.
well. Let's just do this.
I think that's what we should do. How do I say thanks?
You don't have to say thanks. You just came on our podcast.
Yeah, that's great.
I know, but it was, it was a really good experience, and it just feels good to talk about comedy, and you're both funny as fuck. Last time I saw Spade was at Comedy Store, and you fucking crushed.
I love it. Thank you.
Spade
buddy.
knows how to do stand-up extremely well.
He is extremely good at stand-up. That's
yes.
right.
Well, I didn't do many impressions on the show, and it's sort of fun for me to, because it's different mechanisms. There's different reasons people on the show, but it's so fun. I'm always so jealous when I see good impressions. It's so fun to watch, and just even watching you guys do it, this whole talk is hilarious. It's great.
I just tell people to throw their voice. Like, I enjoyed Daryl's New York guy as much as any impression. And, sometimes you go, well, I'm doing an impression of my brother Brad. Now he's called Garth. But also for young comedians, I go, just throw your voice. Just start talking like this or whatever. Just get it out if you want to do comedy that way. You know?
I mean, some of my favorite voices are not famous people. I mean, all the time I lived in New Orleans, and people that I met there, when we do my podcast or you guys come on, there's people I want to do for you that I knew in New Orleans that were out of this world.
Love it.
Good gosh. Well, this has been such a good time. I enjoyed it so much. No, I can run Clinton out. But this is a fun little thing. And we talked all about process and things like that and how we deal with nerves on Saturday Night Live. It's a good show and all like that, So anyway, so much fun, Daryl. Really, really interesting.
Daryl, thank you.
Bravo.
All right. Just reach out to me. We'll talk soon.
Okay, sounds good.
Take care, guys. Next week's guest will be Lorraine Newman. Fly on the Wall has been a presentation of Cadence 13.
Please listen, then rate, review, and follow all episodes.
Executive produced by Dana Carvey and David Spade, Chris Corcoran of Cadence 13, and Charlie Finan of Brillstein Entertainment. Production and engineering led by Greg Holtzman, Richard Cook, Serena Regan, and Chris Basil of Cadence 13.